All right, let's do this session of meditation. Uh, you know what? Like for past few days, I've been cutting out on my sleep, and I can see the effect in me. At times I'm having hard time trying to figure out what I want to say and choosing the right words. Uh, it's so interesting that sleep plays such an important role in day to day, functionality, I guess. Um, that reminds me, I gotta listen to the audiobook called Sleep by Matthew Walker. And I'm probably quarter way in already, and uh, whatever he described so far is amazing. And I'm trying to recollect some of the things which he said in the book, and I do remember a few of the things which he was touching base on was different phases of sleep and how the deep sleep, the REM sleep, which is random eye movement. Basically, when we are deep in our sleep, we move our eyes very rapidly, and I believe that's a state when we dream. So our eyes are sort of like moving all over the place, and maybe our brain is like literally hallucinating and dreaming, and that's where most of the short-term memories turn into long-term memories. So uh, one of the hack which Matthew mentioned in the book, as well as like a couple of other people I follow mentioned, was to take a rest after you do some intense work, and it may be like a physical work or mental work, but once you complete that task, take a rest for say 15-20 minutes. So when you kind of alternate that, right, intense work and then rest for a period of time, that rest actually help you to you know uh, remember the work, or I mean, that's how it works with physical exercise too, right? If you do intense workout, then you want to take like a good 1 day rest for that specific part of your body. So if you're doing upper body, then the better result is to do lower body next day, so that you're giving good rest for your muscles to kind of um, you know build up. So probably that philosophy applied to the mental gymnastics as well. So once you have put in a lot of work in your mental task, then taking a rest for a period of time will help it to probably sink in. I mean, clearly, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know the underlying layers to that, but I do value what other scientists say. So I'm gonna embody that within my day-to-day activities, I guess. But to be honest, I love resting. So I feel that if I end up doing that after every intense, say, physical and mental task, then probably I'm gonna end up resting more than actually doing the task. So, but yeah, I uh, I do have to start doing few other things as well for my physical as well as mental health. One of those things is to microdose. I'm not gonna say on what, but I've heard that I've actually done it too in the past, and it definitely helps to kind of um, you know be more focused and enjoy what you're doing. Although I don't like to be dependent on anything to enjoy what I'm doing, even though in some or the other way, every one of us are dependent on circumstances or food or some random variable to get into the zone or enjoy what you're doing. But microdosing is one of those things which probably I have to do for a longer period of time to see the improvements. because you can just do maybe a week or two, but how would you gauge, like most of us don't even know, like what we did a week back or 2 week back. But if if anyone does anything for like 3 to 4 months, 3 to 6 months, then you can see the drastic change over the period of time. So I don't know if I'm gonna end up doing that for 6 months or so, but I definitely know that I'm gonna start doing it again. But most importantly, this actually helps. This helps to get the conversation flowing. And I know this is just a one sided conversation, and you are just a spectator and giving all of your attention, hopefully, to what I'm saying, and I appreciate that. But the point I'm trying to make is just having a one-sided conversations also help me to get into the flow of having or building smoother conversations. And that's one of the reasons why I miss the pre-COVID world, because I was out there every single day, except for maybe a couple of days a week, but almost every single day I was out there. I was having conversations, and even if I wasn't, then I was still doing something. And right now it feels like I'm trapped, and I'm sure like most of us feel the same way, that we are trapped and confined within our own four walls. um, but going back to the point, I feel that anything could be improved only by practicing, and so is conversation. I do hear or listen to a lot of conversations in terms of podcasts, so I do like the flow of top conversation from one topic to another. And even in my personal life, like, I still remember some of those intense conversations. When I say intense, not like emotional intense, but the depth of the conversation was so intense that I lost track of time. I lost track of uh, how hungry I was or wasn't. So I love those kind of conversations where it flows so smoothly from one topic to another, and there's a lot of laughter and a lot of insights and a lot of wisdom, and just silly fun. So yeah, I hope that the world get back to normal uh, as soon as possible. But at the same time, I also understand how the world works, and it's sort of like a physical laws, with the inertia and momentum. So right now, because of the inertia, like everyone is used to just being inside, and even if pandemic vanishes tomorrow, which not going to happen, but even if it does happen, I'm sure it's going to take maybe a few months for everyone to kind of adapt to the new reality at the time and come out of their own concrete bubble. So regardless of where we are, I'm sure like it's gonna take few months, if not years, and hopefully not years, to get back to the old normal, or there may not be even old normal anymore, which is kind of scary, which scares me because um, I personally don't believe it, because based on our history, like the human civilization history, I mean, any of these um, um, natural disasters last for a period of time, but after that, things start going back to normal or in new direction, and people move past the natural trauma or disaster or whatever. So I'm sure, like, maybe half a decade from now, like, we won't even remember most of the things we've been doing during this pandemic. But I know that I will. I will remember how important 2020 was, or 1220 was, for my life, because of a lot of personal um, I would say, uh, unexpected situations, but at the same time, how I raised to the occasion and took in charge of some of the aspects of my life. So that's one of the things which I'm like really, really proud of. And one of those things is to create my daily rituals. And I can tell you, it's been almost a year. I believe I started this sometime in the end at the end of March, 2020. So it's gonna be a year in 3 to 4 weeks. So I am very, very delighted that I was able to continue this daily ritual practice for an entire year. And to be fair, I wasn't consistent every single day. There were days when it was bad, and there were even weeks when it was like really bad. I end up like doing nothing, and that's fine too. It's sort of like different phases of life. So there are times when you're going through the downward phase of your life, and at that time, if if you miss out on some of your commitments, that's okay. It's okay as long as you bounce back and fulfill those commitments. So at the end of the day, it's all about how quickly you're able to bounce back from your downward cycle towards a upward cycle or upward phase. I definitely need to come up with like a better terminology for these, but I bet like most of us has experienced, or pretty much all of us has experienced the downward and upward flow of our lives in some or the other way. Uh, so yeah, so I believe that the pandemic is one of the best thing which can happen to your life if you use it effectively. Even though we are here into it already, but we still have almost 6 to 8 months where they're gonna be like mini improvements over the next 6 to 8 months, and there won't be like any drastic change. So I hope that in the next 6 to 8 months, most of us can build up with hobbies, with uh, practice, with rituals, which can help in the long term. And one of those rituals is meditation. And trust me, I slacked so hard for the past 5 or 6 months now. I've been very inconsistent with my meditation practice, and that sort of pains me. I mean, initially I was sort of feeling bad because I meditated almost for like 3 4 months without taking any break, or a day here or there, but for 3 4 months, and then all of a sudden I didn't. I stopped. So I I kind of felt that I was missing out on something. And the reason why I stopped was to take a check if I need to live stream my meditation, because there is this inner dialogue in my head where I want to meditate and also hold myself responsible, and that was the whole reason I was live streaming in the first place. But there was something which didn't felt right at the time. At the time when I stopped live streaming, and I was like, okay, I gotta take a break and just focus on whatever is going on in my life at that moment, and it just I guess it just adding more shit into my life. And eventually I realized that I've been very inconsistent with my meditation. So here I am trying to get back into the rhythm. And and one of the best thing which I can think of is to, excuse me, just record this and then upload it later. And I'm gonna play around with some of the other things too, in the sense, like, I'm just gonna fast track the hour-long meditation, because no one there is gonna be watching for an hour. So I'm gonna just edit that in the post edit, or whatever is the right term. But this would be just employing the same strategy that I'm holding myself responsible by meditating in front of camera for 60 minutes. And yeah. All right, so let's get started. In case you're wondering, I'm gonna do Vipassana meditation, which is basically just to focus on my natural breath. So I'm not adding any energy to my breath, and just focusing on the inhalation and exhalation. And once I intensify my focus around that, I will start noticing or observing the sensations around my nasal area. So I've done this before, so that's why I know. But once I feel the sensations around my nasal area, I expand that sensations, or try to observe that sensation throughout my body. So I'm gonna do body scan and just observe the sensations. And the goal here is to not label anything to any sensations, or not to be caught into any of the sensation, because the sensation could be pleasurable or it could be painful. So if it's pleasurable, most of the people end up seeking out for that sensation because it's so pleasurable. Especially when you're sitting with your eyes closed, and if you find something pleasurable, your brain wants to indulge into that. And the goal is to restrain myself from indulging into any pleasurable sensation, and just be equanimous, and just observe that sensation. And on the other end, the same goes for painful sensation as well. And trust me, like, some of us are even attracted to the painful sensation. That's one of the reasons why you would see people deliberately being cynical. And I've been there, so I know the feeling. And that's because that's the area of comfort, or try to cause pain, or try to cause pain to yourself, because that's the area of comfortness, and that pain is sort of like a pleasure, if that makes sense. So it's still attaching to that pain pleasure. But even if it's just a pain, like intense pain, because of whatever reason, could be an itch which you don't want to scratch, or you can't scratch, just focus on that pain, and you would notice that over time, that pain or pleasure will sort of dissipate in the background. Even though that time may seem a long time, maybe like 2 minutes of pain could feel like 20 hours of pain, and 20 hours of pleasure could feel like 2 minutes of pleasure. So time is nothing but our perception, right? So even if you feel that the time is too long or too short, when you're focusing on your pain or pleasure, just remind yourself that everything is temporary, that pain and that pleasure both are temporary, and that can help you to focus back on equanimity and just focus on the sensations. Cool. All right. So with that note, I'm gonna set an alarm for an hour and get started. Alrighty. I'm gonna see you in an hour, but once I'm gonna edit this out for you, it's gonna be just a minute.